Hey everyone, Beta Snake here. Uh, I wanted to make a video that might be, maybe not questionable, but for a lot of people, um, around my age and older have this kind of problem. Today's video is going to stem around job search and what it pertains to when a potential boss employer is looking at your resume and your background and your credit score and whatnot. So today's video is going to be about the maybe unintentional or the bad rep that some people have when it comes to job searching. Now, for people more of my age, usually we don't have a problem getting a job because a lot of employers are looking for younger individuals that are looking for lower pay and are open availability and more of what the employer is looking for, maybe compared to somebody who's older that has a higher salary, maybe limited availability. But it's not just that a lot of people are having problems finding jobs. Now, with today's economy being the way it is very, very difficult for people to find a job. I don't care what the news tells you or what the president tells you, because his input is, I'll take it with a grain of salt. I don't care what they fucking tell you. Don't believe anything they tell you, because in reality, our economy is shit. Absolute shit. There's no jobs. We are trillions of dollars in debt to China and all the other countries. We have no way of paying it back. The their percentage on money is dropping in stocks. It equals barely shit anymore. All the other countries are laughing at us. Meanwhile, the president and his lefty and righty are arguing back and forth on to what country we want to bomb and which one we want to fight and get into another civil war with, and all this BS, and we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on other countries when we're not even taking care of our own. We have vets that are dying out in the streets, committing suicide, not getting the benefits that they were promised. We got vets that are coming home and being shamed, getting foreclosed on, bankrupt, have nowhere to go, no more home, no nothing, because the government doesn't give them a break, even though they sacrifice themselves and their lives to protect our country. That that's that is ridiculous. I don't care what news media tells you. It's bullshit. It's fake propaganda bullshit that they tell you that the economy is fine and we're doing fantastic as a country and we're okay. We're not fucking okay. I don't care what they tell you. We are not fucking okay. If the shit keeps going the way it is, like I'm expecting it to be, we are gonna have another financial crisis that's gonna be so fucking big that we cannot come back from it. Period. They can try to fill you with all the bullshit of we're gonna be fine, we're gonna bounce. No, we're not. We keep borrowing more money that we don't have and keep lending out to people that don't need it, and countries with no promise or guarantee of paying it back. And we keep fucking ourselves in the ass, and we're not taking our lessons seriously, and we keep digging ourselves a deeper hole. Hence where the whole employment thing comes in. Now, because of our financial situation and our crisis that is going on, it is reflecting poorly on the economy and the rate that we are growing as far as jobs go. Now, as far as jobs go, the employment rate is really high. Comparatively from a few years ago, it is high. It is ridiculously high. Like the last time I checked, it was like 17% for unemployment. It is like quadrupled from a few years back, from like 2008, since our last financial crisis. And that has a lot to do with how many employers hire the amount of employees. Now, depending on how the economy goes, is how many employers will hire. So the poorer the economy, the worse off people trying to look for jobs are going to have it. Now, as far as job searching itself goes, let me tell you, from personal experience of being out of a job for 3 months, it is a living fucking nightmare. To say mildly, it's a fucking nightmare. Like, I am struggling to find even the simplest job. Now, finding a job, from my perspective, it has a lot to do with luck. Like, right place, right time kind of luck. And if you're not in the right place in the right time, and you don't have that kind of luck on you, you're just shit out of luck. A lot of employers nowadays, some employers will go as far as to discriminate against a race or a person because of ethnical background, sexuality, gender, religion. Other employers will a lot of employers will determine if they will hire you or not depending on things like your age, your salary, how long of employment you've had, have you ever been fired, have you ever been let go, how long your unemployment gap has been. But what I'm finding in a lot of jobs, and this is fucking me over something fierce, is the weird tie-in with your credit score and your job. Now, for whatever ridiculous reason, your credit score has a lot to do with what employers will hire you. Now, I understand from a bank's perspective, you're dealing with money, and they want to be sure that your background, that you weren't like a bank thief, or you didn't like get charged for like fraudulent charges, or you're not a liar. But for a lot of employers, I'm finding they will not hire someone with a bad credit score. And for the life of me, from my perspective, I cannot understand why a credit score has anything to do with a job. From my perspective, a credit score should have nothing to do with a job, because those are two different economies all on their own. They should not have anything to do with each other. They should not intermingle, because my credit score does not reflect of my employment, my attendance, how I interact with people, how good I am on the job. My credit score has nothing to do with any of those factors at all. If anything, it just gives an employer an excuse to not hire you. Like, oh, you have a bad credit score of under 500. We're sorry, we can't hire you. The fuck? What? How does my bad credit score reflect on how I do on a job? Like maybe I'll understand maybe to like a small percentage of it reflecting if you're doing like a private sector, government, bank, um, like from those perspectives, I can understand maybe just a little bit of doing like a credit score check, because government obviously because they're higher end, high up, they want to make sure that you are who you are and that you're not going to do anything suspicious or fishy or in the bank because you're dealing with money. But a lot of what I'm finding out is that a lot of employers will check your credit score when you're trying to apply for a job. Even if it has nothing to do with money, they will check your credit score. Which is ridiculous because credit scores should have nothing to do with your job. Maybe if you were trying to finance for a car or repurpose your mortgage on your house, I can understand, but not for your job. Another big negativity that's going against employees is your age. Now, from someone's perspective, age can mean a big thing between maybe working a certain time of the day or working a certain amount of hours, because a lot of employers don't want to hire someone older because maybe they're afraid or they are afraid that that older person might have problems or have limited availability or can only do certain things, can't lift certain things. And some employers take advantage of that and tell someone that might be an older age, sorry, we can't hire you because of your age or because of your weight or your height or your gender. Some employers will go that far to make sure that they can have their way, because when the economy was just trying to make its way back from our last crash, a lot of employers were being extremely anal and would use these kind of tactics to weed out who they wanted and who they didn't want. But now that it's a tiny bit better, just tiny bit better, some employers have had to rethink the way that they ask certain candidates or all candidates to make sure that they're not reported or whatnot because they don't want any problems. Another thing with age is for some people, like for example, those who are just getting into the job economy, for a lot of those who are just starting out, it can be extremely difficult to find a job because, and this is ridiculous, because you do not have the job requirements or the training to do said job. But in order to get that said training, you need to get in said job. That's another thing that puzzles the shit out of me. Like, how am I supposed to get a job in that certain aspect if I can't get the training in the first place to even be qualified for that job? Like, some of the job postings I've seen are ridiculous. Like, you'll have to have like 13 years of experience, or you'll have to have like a bachelor's degree. Some of the requirements for some jobs are just ridiculous. I understand. I completely understand that for some jobs, yes, you need the training to be qualified for the job, but there has to be like a limit of what's ridiculous and what's not. And for a lot of jobs are extremely strict on experience. And for those of us who are trying to get out of one type of job scenario and try to get into something entirely new, that's nearly impossible for us. Unless we get extremely lucky, or we just happen to have that degree of college to get that job. But for a lot of us, that doesn't happen because we can't afford college, or for a lot of us, college just wasn't worth it, and we don't have that degree to get that job that we want. So age, salary, gap ratios, credit scores, salaries, it has a lot to do with whether an employee will even give you their time of day to even consider you for an interview, let alone hire you. And for a lot of people, that's a problem, because there are some people out there that have been out of work for months or a year because they haven't been given the opportunity to go out and find a job, because employers have been so strict with what they accept and what they don't accept. For some people it's credit score, for others it might be a federal charge or jail sentence. For some people that have a criminal record, it's extremely difficult to find a job because now no one wants to give you the time of day or the risk of hiring you because you did something bad in the past. It's all about the past, not the present, the past. Whatever you did in the past will now reflect on you now and will somehow determine whether you're going to be a good person or for the job or not. Which, in my perspective, the past has nothing to do with the present you unless you brought bad habits from the past to the present. And that may reflect, but from my perspective, employers should give more people a chance to prove themselves that yes, I can do the job regardless of my background and training or salary, and should be able to say, hey, you might be lacking the experience, but we'll give you a chance and see how you work out. I know for a lot of employers it's a waste of time and money, but the whole idea of being hired is to give that job a try and see how we like it, because most jobs are trial and error. Not every job is going to work out, and employers need to understand that not every job is going to work out for that certain individual, and you need to cut them a break. Another thing that I noticed has been a problem is employment, past employment. I was just talking about, how your past reflects your present situation. Employment is one of those big negativities that can give you the yay or nay. For some people, some people have jumped from one job to another because of reasons or disagreements or bad boss, bad employees, bad environment, conditions, whatever you name it. There are some people that have jumped around from job to job, and for a lot of employers, if they see that you have been jumping from job to job, They may consider you on the spot unreliable, and they will not give you day and time because they automatically assume that since you've had a lot of jobs, sorry, you won't work out because you'll probably quit. For some people that is true, but for a lot of us, we may have had a bad situation, something that may have been out of our hands, out of control. I know some people have to leave jobs because of family situations or child care or transportation. I know for a lot of people, those in particular can be a big difference between keeping a job and losing your job. I know for a lot of people, children, it can be extremely difficult because now you've got to balance your job and making sure that your kids are safe and somewhere where someone certified can watch them while you work so that you can make a paycheck to keep them safe and in a place under an experienced supervisor or babysitter or daycare or school. So that can be a factor too. Another thing that may stop an employee from getting a job is no job experience. I've already covered that. A lot of employers won't hire people with no experience because they don't have any prior experience to go into that job with, and that may hold a lot of people back. I know when I was starting out in the job field, it was extremely difficult for me to find a job because I had no prior job experience, which I thought was stupid because it makes, for a lot of people, makes no sense because if you, in order to get job experience, you need to have a job, but with no job you can't get experience. So for a lot of people who are trying to just, throw a resume out to anybody that says we're hiring, that's a big red flag to the employer because they're like, oh, you don't have any prior experience, we can't hire you. But then the employee's like, wait, how am I supposed to get experience if I don't have a job to prove that, and get the experience? So for a lot of people, that's a problem, especially those who are just coming into the job market. A lot of employers might see that new hires can be a high risk because they don't know if they'll work out, or because they have no prior experience, they don't know what they're doing yet. So from my perspective, that's how I see the job economy as a whole. How I see it as maybe a learning experience for some people, because depending on the person depends upon their experience. Not everybody's going to experience the same thing. Not everybody's going to experience the same kind of situation or scenario, and everybody's unique in their own way when it comes to a job. So just when you're searching for a job, just be careful and look for the red flags, and if you feel it in your gut that it's the right job or right place to go with the flow. If anything, for a job, being on point with your resume and your cover letter can determine whether or not you get a job. Just from that piece of paper alone can determine whether or not you get a job. So, when job searching, from what I've learned recently, make sure that you don't have any grammatical errors or misspellings, because that can be a big red flag for employers, going, oh, you can't spell or you misspelled that, so how is that going to reflect on you working here or your job? Um, Another thing is an outdated resume. Say you've been in the job field at the same job for like 14 years, and for whatever reason you quit or they lay you off. Now you've got to go through the whole shebang of going through your old resume and updating it, and that can be a pain. But if anything, if you're stuck, or you can always refer to your unemployment office or state help, or you can Google it to see what you can do personally to update your resume effectively to make sure that employers are paying attention to you. So that's a source. Another thing that you want to be careful in your resume is putting too much information. Now, when it comes to a resume, you want to make sure that you put in keywords and words that the employer will point out and go, "Oh, hey, we're looking for that." For any job that you are applying to, you want to make sure that your resume and cover letter are on point for that job specifically. Like if it's retail, you want to include in your resume and cover letter points towards retail and put in experiences or keywords towards a retail job to include in your paperwork to make sure that the employer looks at your resume. Because if you don't include certain keywords or include anything from the job that you are applying to, most of the time the employers will not look at your resume. Another thing that you might want to keep an eye out for is accomplishments. Always, whenever you do a resume or cover letter, you want to include on those pieces of paper your accomplishments and your skills. Those have to be on there. If you do not put those on your resume and cover letters, then how are you going to impress your employer if you don't include your accomplishments or skills? How are you going to prove to them that you're worth their time and effort to pay attention to you and to give you a job interview? If anything, in this economy, you want to stand out from your competition, and you want the employer to look at you. Not them, you. You want to stand out from the crowd and be unique and say, "Hey, look at me. Hire me." Because of the tough economy nowadays, it's just unfortunately one of the things you have to do if you want to get a job. You have to stick your neck out and make yourself known to the employer and go, "Hey, this is what I can do. This is my accomplishments and skills. Hire me." Because if you don't, 10 times out of 10, they won't even give you the time of day. Another thing that you want to watch out for when it comes to your resume and cover letter is being too modest. Now, yes, for any resume or cover letter, yes, you want to be honest, but you don't want to go over the top and scare the employer. That's how I look at it. Like, you want to be honest with them and upfront, but you don't want to make them go, "Oh, okay, too much." Like, you want to get them interested and pay attention, but you don't want to go make them go, "Okay, that's way that nope, TMI." Like, when it comes to a resume, You want to be honest, but you don't want to be modest. Or too modest. You can be modest, but don't be, like, over the top. Because then they won't pay attention to you. So that's one of the factors. Anyways, this has been Beta Snake. Peace out.